Why, hello there, and welcome to my YouTube channel, and I will be your host, Timely. So we're back out here with another guide, okay? And I'm actually on my main class, Assassin. Gunslinger is no longer my main class anymore. It is now Assassin, and I'm back to bring an updated guide for this class, okay? So first, we're gonna do the same song and dance, okay? We're gonna look at my stats and I'm gonna tell you guys what I'm going to be stacking, okay? So, of course, I'm gouging my magic attack, which is 94k, and then I have my AP, my crit level around 30k, and my goal is to increase my multi-strike up to 50k, so it's not there yet, but it's close, and that's my goal, because I want a higher proc rate on my multi-strike, because Assassin benefits very well from multi-strike, and we'll get more into that a little bit later, okay? And you guys can see these stats too. Alright, moving forward. Now let's start talking about the skills and the talents. So first, up top we got the Nibelungen song, okay? I don't know how to pronounce that. I probably butchered it, so don't judge me. Sounds German. Okay, so when in Dark Shadow form, Multi-Strike Earthquake will grant you a shield that absorbs 345. Oh no. 19,345 damage. Jesus Christ. It's too early in the morning for this. Okay, so no one cares about that. That shit sucks. That bubble will absorb a normal attack and then it'll pop like instantly. It's trash. But the good part of this is when in Hunter form, Multi-Strike has a 20% chance of casting Domain underneath the target, which does 119k damage. Now the thing about this is it isn't a full 119k damage, okay? It's not one hit. It hits 5 times, okay? Which is extremely good. So for it to go up to 119k, it probably does around I would say around 22k per hit on a Nibelungen proc or a domain. Every domain it'll do like 22k per hit 5 times. Now that is extremely good, especially for this build that we're going to be using, which I'll explain further. Now we have Echo of Soul, which Dawn and Soul Fisher trigger multi-strikes Earthquake rate by times 2 of its base rate. So if your multi-strike is already 30k, that's probably a 30% proc rate for your multi-strike, and then with this you could pretty much have like a guaranteed multi-strike every time you use Dawn or Soul Fisher. But if your multi-strike is very reliable as it is, I can imagine you can take it off and put funeral bells in. It really depends on how high multi-strike is and how comfortable you are with having this off and going funeral bells. But I like to have Echo of Soul because my multi-strike isn't really there yet. Now next we have Dissonance, where every time Multi-Strike Earthquake is activated, there's a 20% chance of adding the Mark of Nether to the target, which decreases their magic defense, which is okay. It's not a lot, but a little of anything is something, right? And then has a chance of resetting the cooldown time of Preluded Dawn, which is like a 20% chance, okay? Which is extremely good in my opinion, because as I said before, with Nibelungen's Song, right? Nibelungen's Song hits 5 times for 119k damage. Now, a 20% proc rate for resetting the cooldown in your Preluded Dawn, that's almost a guaranteed reset of cooldown of your Preluded Dawn every time the domain procs from your Nibelungen's Song. So I feel like that combos right there very, very nicely. So very nice, very nice. Now next we have the triple variation. When Multi-Strike Earthquake is triggered, gain an additional variation effect increasing earthquake damage by 4%, and when effect is at level 3, variation becomes finale, increasing earthquake damage by 20% for 20 seconds. Now every time you trigger your multi-strike, you get a stack of this, and if your Nibelungen's Song procs at all, it's pretty much like a guaranteed 20% damage boost to your multi-strike, which is extremely powerful, because keep in mind that Nibelungen's Song or domain is 5 hits that equal to 119k damage. Now each of those 5 hits are going to be boosted by 20% from your triple variation, so it's really good. You'll end up doing a lot more damage than 119k, especially with that modifier, okay? Now let's take a look at my deep talent. It hasn't changed much from last time, but there's a little bit different, okay? So of course we still have these, which increase magic damage by 5%, increases normal damage by 10%, and then Omen of Dawn, of course, which adds the slow and increases the damage outside of Void of Storm, which is very good. And then I added the Moon in Shadow, so increases the explosion damage of the explosion from Moonlight, so it's really good. 50% damage increase, and it also knocks them down with a trigger rate of 100%. So I really like the knockdown effect for PvP because you can pretty much use the explosion every time you want, and you can time it to stun lock your enemies in PvP, especially if you know the delay times on all your skills like religiously. So I think that's really good, so I added it. I used to think that this actually increases the strength of Moonblade damage over time, but no, it's just the explosion damage. And for the future, when I become level 100, I hope to get this talent right here, which increases Multi-Strike Earthquake and Devastation Zone, which I think is the domain. I'm not sure. And it increases it by 50% when you have all 5 talent points into it, which I think is very reliable, especially if you're going to be stacking it with variation from your C talent. Okay. Now that we looked at my deep talent, all those passive effects that I have for my normal attack, I thought it would be a good idea for my Drax if I added in, hold on, this isn't right. There we go. If we added in like Goddess's Gift, which increases my normal attack damage by 5%, and then the Knight of Hunt, with every 10 HP the target loses, the damage dealt to them by normal attacks is increased by 1%. So I felt like those are pretty good Drax to stack with the passive effects I get for my deep talent, so I do even more damage. Okay, and of course I have my Nose for Danger, so every time I dodge I get increased speed, and then Potential Awakening for my multi-strike, and then I have like, you know, some elemental Drax to help me out in PvP against gunslingers and fighters and blade masters. Alright, now let's start talking about the rotation, or actually the EX skill. And in my opinion, Royal Fire is the best EX skill for Assassin, better than Scorch. I know there's a lot of Scorch lovers out there, but in my opinion, Royal Fire is a lot better because it does, even though it hits the same and it has longer cooldown, everybody approaching you is burnt for 10 seconds, so it's a 16k tick every 2 seconds, which is extremely good. And I'm going to show you why, because each of those ticks from Royal Fire actually have a chance to proc your multi-strike. So if we look at it here, multi-strike, you'd even proc the Nibble and Sung. Like, that is so extremely powerful. Like, even though on paper for Royal Fire that says it only does 240k, well, you can potentially do like add on another another 550k on top of that, okay? And that'd be like 700k, especially if all those ticks hit your target and they all proc multi-strike. That is extremely powerful. So Royal Fire is so good on an assassin. And I actually took off Scorch just to have it on. It's so good. I love it. Alright, so now that we have that done, let's try out the rotation, okay? And after the rotation, then we're gonna call it. Alright, so I like to start off with Dark Rhapsody, and then I'll go into my stealth, or I'll do Dark Rhapsody, Prelude to Dawn, then stealth. But in PvP, I'll just use Rhapsody and then stealth because it's quicker. So if I'm like in PvE, it would look like this. Very nice. Love the rotation. Lots of explosions. A lot of fun. Alright, and then we'll do the rotation again, and it repeats. And you see how my Prelude Dawn just gets off cooldown sometimes, and I can just spam it. It's so nice. And then reset. Do a double pounce that time. Oh, already killed truffles. Love the build. So much fun. Ooh. Alright, now let's try out my my PvP rotation if I was in PvP with this build and what it would look like. Okay, so we found new truffles. Alright, so in PvP it's a little the rotation is a little bit different. So in PvP, I would always start a fight off with Rhapsody to slow them down, of course, and to have that damage over time while you're in assassin mode. So I would go like this. I would do one of those, Shadow Dart into that, and then I would, when their delay ends, I would knock them down with that, and then I would use Royal Fire, okay? And then of course you'd be rotating your Crystal Coffin, and then just to get your stealth back online, and then when you want to reset on your opponent, you would start off with your Rhapsody again. They're delayed, knock them down, and do one of those. It's very nice how you can time your Moonlight Blade with your delay, so you can keep them down, and then once they get back up, then you can kind of run away and then go in the corner with your Crystal Coffin and wait for your shadow thing to come off cooldown. So it would look like this. Like if I was going to play like very bursty and defensive. Dark Rhapsody, boom, 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 boom. They're delayed, knock them down, run away, Crystal Coffin, wait for my thing to come off cooldown. Like a little bitch. And then go back into stealth and reset. So that's how it would kind of look like in a nutshell. If you're in a group fight and player versus player, you always have to make use of the hyper armor you get from using your Dark Hunt and the hyper armor that you get from switching back to Hunter form after it's done. I do think you get hyper armor from using Void Storm, because I've seen like the yellow glow every time I go out of Hunter form. But yeah guys, I think that's the end of the video for me. I'm gonna pick up these truffles real quick. Alright, these things are amazing if you're a cook, because they give you increased career bonus, and it's like super easy to farm for your ingredient. This entire bar for my ingredient was just from collecting truffles alone. I haven't fished in fucking weeks. Oh, fucking truffles. Damn it. He'll do that. That's his job. His job is to protect those truffles. He doesn't want anyone touching his truffles. But okay, I have to get going now. Peace. Still there? Well, I forgot to mention what allies I have, and I know one of you guys out there are going to be like, what allies do you have? Well, I just YOLO pulled a Mingzi loot from the secret commands by using one secret command. Got so lucky, and now I'm super hyped. So that is one other reason why I'm deciding to main assassin, because Mingzi loot is so good for assassin. And that is all. I have to get going for real this time. Peace.